Studies show that over 60% of people experience increased grief, loneliness, or emotional stress during the holiday season, especially when they're missing somebody they love. And if this year feels especially heavy, more than most, you are not imagining it. Many of us are also standing at a collective turning point. Welcome to Go Slow to Go Fast, the space where we pause long enough to hear ourselves, trust our inner wisdom, and create meaningful forward movement away from the hustle, noise, and pressure to be okay. Today's conversation is especially for you if the holidays feel tender, if you're grieving, exhausted, or standing at a crossroads and you're sensing that something is ending, but you're not quite sure what's beginning, because we're leaving the year of the snake, where we're supposed to be shedding, and we're getting into 2026, which is the year of the horse, where it's new beginnings. So let's release what no longer serves us and let's get ready for the new, right? It's going to be a new year with new beginnings, momentum, freedom, truth, and forward motion. But here's the key: movement without integration leads to burnout. So that's why this pause matters. I'm joined by Laura Hoorweg, an international intuitive coach, spiritual counselor, and psychic medium, and the founder of Spirit Speaks to Me. Laura is known for her uncanny accuracy, deep compassion, and soul level clarity, and she helps people navigate grief and burnout and life transitions and spiritual awakenings by getting to the root of what is really happening beneath the surface. Her work is equal parts grounded and mystical. And she's part therapist, part seer, part no-nonsense soul whisperer. And she sees basically straight through the noise, through the crap, to the truth, and she helps people release energetic baggage and helps people step into alignment. And in this conversation, we talk about grief during the holidays and listening to spirit and trusting yourself and your intuition through those seasons of uncertainty, and why slowing down right now might be the most powerful way to prepare for what's coming next. So stay with us until the end. We're also going to be closing out season 1 with this episode, and I'll be sharing about what's happening for next year in season 2. So let's get started. Well, Laura, I just want to say thank you for agreeing to come on the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you out there listening or watching, Laura's fire alarm is going off in the background, but we're just going to keep moving forward and we're going to have our conversation and see what happens. But before we get into her story and more into, guidance that we might be looking for listening to our inner voice, I want to ask Laura how you go slow to go fast these days.
Well, today is a perfect example. I think the biggest thing right now is simply acceptance. To accept what's really going on and don't let that make you go crazy or run around like a chicken with your head cut off. And just accept it. Like I just said to you, that fire alarm is going off. I can't do anything about it. So it is what it is. And there's a good, I've really adopted that the last few years. It really reminds you because I like little phrases or little actions because they really twig your brain and they get you focused on whatever you need or want to be focused on. So when things kind of go crazy and you need to slow yourself down, I love that phrase. It's just it is what it is, and then you just keep on going at a slower pace because when things go off the rails, it really helps to slow down, as you know.
Yes, I think we can all probably hear that because this episode will be airing around Christmas time of 2025, around the
Ah,
holidays.
yeah.
So, there's a lot going on in our lives around the holidays. We're either hosting family, going to see family, and doing all kinds of, extra stuff that we wouldn't normally do, like cooking, baking, or eating extra, whatever that
Yeah,
might
there's a
look
lot of
like for
eating.
us. Yeah. So going slow to go fast is something that I always like to remind myself to do during this time of the year because I can get worked up on just little things, making things look a certain way or have to have that extra, side dish for the meal. And really, I don't. My kids don't care. My family doesn't care. They just want me to feel good
Well, that's a
and
good point.
spend time.
Yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
good point. I think it's super, super important since this is gonna be right by Christmas, so we're gonna talk more about Christmas. Is is to really remember what Christmas is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about joy and peace and being with our loved ones and enjoying ourselves. So let's forget about all this crap that we've been fed, like everything has to be perfect. We've got to have all these food and all this presents and all that. This is my other holiday. Oh, I told you my other holiday. It's the old KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's definitely what I'm doing this year. In fact, my theme for my tree and my decorating my house and everything is minimalist. And it really is. You can have a beautiful decorations and beautiful sense of the season without, go making yourself crazy. And it's like, oh, I gotta buy new decorations for the tree. I gotta buy new lights and all. No, you don't really. Okay. Um, and even I was actually this funny, this whole topic. I was out with a couple of girlfriends last night for our soul sister meeting, and we were talking about this very subject. And I said, I have all these decorations and everything that I've been given and that I've collected over decades. But each year, what I do is I kind of pick a theme and then I just sort through that stuff and I only pick out the stuff that follows that particular theme. So it's like every Christmas, things that are new because, you might have not used these particular decorations for several years. And instead of going out and buying new stuff and feeling like you have to do something new every year, that makes it new and interesting without actually having to do all that stuff. And that's what makes you go crazy, trying to find all and maybe you have to pick up one little thing or something because actually in my family it was a tradition that every year you kind of bought one special new ornament for the tree. So I may or may not do that if I find something that coordinates with my simplicity, minimalist decorating plan. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love that. I think more people are getting in tune with the idea of less is more,
Yes.
simplifying their life, taking things off their plate so they can, live the life they want.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. If you have to rent a storage unit to store your Christmas stuff, you got too much stuff. You
Mhm.
need to, gift it, give it away, sell it, some of it, go through and find the stuff that is really meaningful and to you and your family. And seriously, get rid of the rest. Cause like why have all this stuff?
I know. I think we're all gonna be much happier. We'll breathe better and feel better about our stuff if we have less that we really, really cherish.
Well, it's interesting. I love how my guys kind of segue because this segues right into what we decided that we were going to talk about today. Because what applies to your surroundings, and this is a really good thing for people to remember, what applies to all the things we were just talking about, our surroundings, also applies to ourselves and to our minds and how we're thinking and to our hearts. There's nothing better than around the holidays to really do a serious e- internal, what I call an internal decluttering. And you don't have to necessarily, sometimes some people need some help, and I can help with that too. But it's really important that you sort of do your own inventory, like I talked about going through the Christmas gifts. go through yourself, spend some time journaling or just contemplating or in meditation and figure out, what needs to simply be released or let go of, and also think about maybe some things that you could make better, that would actually have a very positive impact on your kind of um, mental world, mental and emotional world, and just see what really needs to shift for you. And I think that because oftentimes one of the best ways to help ourselves internally is if we do something similar in the physical world, because it actually helps us do that internally when we're working with those same themes in our external world. So there you go.
I like that. I mean, it's just a good reminder that we should be doing that. I mean, not just at the end of the year
No,
going into the new year. We should do it as, frequently as we can. Maybe not once a month, but,
no,
maybe once a
no. I
quarter.
kind of think of it as like spring, fall, and the end of the year, because like
Mhm.
3 times a year, because those are really times when each one has a little bit of a different bent to it. Like, for example, spring, I would look at spring as doing the decluttering, but also looking at what you wanted to create, what you wanted to grow within yourself and around yourself, because that's the energy of spring. In the fall is really about, um, again, super releasing those things that no longer serve you so that you can focus on the ones that do, the important things, the important parts of your life. And then at the end of the year is really about, really decluttering and getting straight on what you want to build and create for the new year. And depending on where your energy's landing and how old you are, it might be creating the basis for the next decade. Those zero numbers, okay, they tend those zero birthdays, the ones with the big zero on the end, those tend to be good times too to really focus on um what you want to create, not just for the following year, but also for the next decade of your life. So that's a good time to focus on that. So anybody that's got one of those big birthdays, either last half of this year or into 2026, it's really a good time now around the holiday season to spend some time really thinking about, hey, where do I want to be? If 10 years is a too big a jump, think about 5 years. Where what do I want my life to look like? And sometimes people get too focused on what I want my life to look like. I tell a lot of people, think about, what do you want it to feel like? Okay, what are the emotions? What's the overall sense that you want your life to have? Like, do you want a greater sense of freedom? Do you want more love in your life? Do you want more connections? Like, whatever's the most important to you. Because a lot of times, it's hard to focus on the physical things, especially in a world that's changing so quickly. But we can definitely focus on what we want that world to feel like. And I tell you, if you're really focusing on what you want your life to feel like, it will automatically start to manifest those physical things that will create those emotions. Help, not create, but help to create and support those emotions within you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you'll start to realize what you don't need, like you said.
Yes.
This is the time of the year to be thinking about what no longer serves you. And I think it's also the year of the snake, which is that shedding. So
Yes.
it's all definitely a focus right now. If people are feeling that way, there's a reason. But it's a good reminder that
Yeah.
you can start again anytime and refresh and revisit.
Well, I'll tell you, this year is very, very potent for that, because a lot of people don't realize 2025 is actually a 9 vibrational year, because it adds up to 9. And the vibration of 9 is all about completion, okay, which is tying up loose ends, letting go of that stuff that no longer serves us, and all those types of things. Because we're going into 2026, and 2026 is a 10 year. which 10 vibration, which is actually a 1 vibration. So 2026 is all about new beginnings. So if you haven't cleared out the crap, by the end of this year or early next year, very early next year, it's going to be pretty hard to start those new things to bring. Because I always talk about this energetically. If you want to, go out and buy a new wardrobe, this is great for women because women get this. If you want to go out and buy a new wardrobe, you need to clean out your closet, and you can actually see my closet there in this picture. So you want to clean out those closets so that you actually have a place to put that new wardrobe. Okay. And this comes down to people too, because I've really noticed, and I've been talking to a few other people and some of my clients. The big theme right now over the last couple of months, actually, I think probably since about October. So through October and November, and I think it's going to continue because I can just feel it continuing like right into December, is a big theme about letting go of people. Really, really having a look at how these people, and I mean everybody, I mean work, colleagues, I mean friends, I mean even in some cases family members, like extended. Obviously, you can't. Well, I suppose in some cases you could kick your family out the door, but that's another discussion. But there's a real emphasis on getting, like I said, I've really noticed this in my life, is really getting very clear on who is adding to my life and who's taking away from it. And again, the same thing applies because I have a great desire to start bringing new people into my life. And if you don't let some of those people who aren't really serving you go, there really honestly isn't a space to let those new people in. Because let's face it, we're all very busy, okay, for whatever reason, families, work. Some people are heavily into philanthropic and volunteer stuff. Everybody's busy. I don't care if you're working or not, everybody's busy. And you only have so much time for socializing and being with other people. And you want to make sure that those people are actually somebody who you really want in your life and who are actually adding to your life and not taking away from it. So I think there's going to be a huge emphasis that, well, there already has been this last quarter on relationships. And it's see, my guides are amazing. Whenever there's a big thing going on that I need to help support and help guide other people through, they always put me through it first. Oh, that's true. So I would bet that this thing about relationships and people is probably going to continue right into the first 3 months of 2026. Because I usually kind of they flow me ahead of the curve so that I can have better tools and experience to help other people through it. So I would be saying that it's going to continue right into the first quarter of 2026.
And that's a great point that you bring up, that you do work with a spiritual team of
Yes.
guides. And, for anybody out there listening and watching, do you have any advice for anybody who's really starting to question, is that something that I can do for myself? Especially when they need to start thinking about who they want to have in their life,
You mean in terms of communicating with your guides?
or just listening to that inner voice,
Yeah, just
their
listening to that inner
intuition.
voice. I think that's the thing. And it's really been made, well, I know this, but sometimes my guides like to beat me over the head too, because you forget, right? You really need some time, and you have to be practice mindfulness, which is being present, and really thinking about, okay, when I'm with this group of people, or when I'm with this person, how am I really feeling? Because we get so used, especially people who have either been in our lives for a long time or we tend to spend a lot of time with. We're not really asking that question. Okay. And it's really about being present. A huge part of being present is about focusing on what's going on around you and then asking yourself some questions. Because we don't question enough. We just take stuff for granted all the time. And if you're with a certain person and you're feeling off, you need to say, hey, to yourself, either when you're with that person, or you kind of ask this is what I love about asking questions, because you can ask a question and I guarantee most times you probably won't get an answer right away. But if you ask the question, your guides and angels will wait till appropriate time when you give them space, which means you have to be relaxed, either meditating, out for a walk, whatever. And if you've asked a question earlier, that's when you're really going to start feeling and hearing your own guidance and going, yeah, like, why was I wasting my time with that group? I wasn't getting anything out of it. I didn't really feel like they were my tribe. Why am I wasting my time? And then you can start making very clear decisions on who and what you want in your life and who and what has kind of served its purpose. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, some things are, or some people are really good and some people are really bad or anything like that. It just means that you're not, because we change our energetic level constantly. And something or somebody that was a great fit 3 months ago, may not be now, you know? And it can even be people that you've had in your life for years. And all of a sudden you've grown and changed, and maybe they've grown and changed, and maybe you've kind of this the divergence has happened and you've kind of gone in two different directions. Or maybe they've stayed the same and you've changed, which happens a lot. And this happens in intimate relationships as well. When one partner basically stays the same and the other partner starts growing, and all of a sudden there's this dichotomy between the two, and that's when the trouble starts. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be totally on the same level as your partner. That happens extremely rarely. But what needs to be happening is you both have to be moving. Okay. The problem comes in when one person is stuck where they always have been, and then the other person starts growing. And all of a sudden, as you can see, there's this ever growing gap. And that's what really tends to end relationships. And sometimes it's because they're meant to end. You know, I can tell you right now, we've been brought up on this kind of, I call it Disney fantasy life, where people fall in love and they stay together forever. That, even from a spiritual perspective, it's incredibly rare. Now these people may stay together forever, but they're certainly not staying together in a happy growth environment. Okay. Um, and some relationships are, what is that? There's a good saying, and I can't remember about the season and da da da. Anyway, you know the one I'm talking about. All relationships, a lot of times relationships, even intimate relationships, romantic relationships, they just come to a close because we've learned what we need to learn from that particular partner, and it's time to move on. I just am trying to get people to what I call make conscious partings. Okay, conscious partings is when both individuals realize that their relationship is not working and that they need to move on. And it's done in a loving, totally awake and aware frame of mind and heart. And it's not done in a way that, oh, I hate that other blankety blank person, and I wish they'd drop off the earth, and that that is not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone. And I don't
Yeah.
care if it's a friendship or an intimate relationship. And sometimes these things happen in business and in work, and the same parameters apply. Because if you end those relationships badly too, you're not doing anyone, including yourself, any good.
Right. And ending a relationship badly could be ghosting them and never talking to them again
Oh
and not
yeah,
having any
absolutely.
resolution too,
Yeah.
as well as a dramatic, fight or whatever,
There's a
just
word, okay,
conflict.
that you bring up. Resolution,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
We are way too fixated on that because some relationships just end and we don't ever get a chance for resolution. Okay. And this is also something that happens when people pass away. And people get really stuck by this because they never had a chance to say goodbye. They go into, prolonged grief. We're all meant to grieve because it's part of the healing process, but we're not meant to grieve forever. I've met people, I've had clients and met people that, their loved one has passed away 10, 15, sometimes even 20 years before. And they've gotten stuck in grief and they're still in the grieving process. And what that does is that totally short circuits your own life. You stop growing, you get stuck at where you are, and you never get out of that, which is very, very detrimental for your own life path because you're not doing all the things that you were meant to do. To reinforce this, our loved ones on the other side, they know that we need to grieve. That's something that we need to do here when we're still physical on the earth, but they don't want us grieving forever. A lot of the messages I get from the other side are to help their loved ones get out of the grieving process because a lot of people get stuck. If you look at Kubler-Ross's work, is there 5 or 7, I can't remember, um, you know, stages of grief, and you can get stuck anywhere along that chain, and it's very detrimental for you. And that's something you really have to look at. I always say to people, and I don't care whether this is somebody's passing, whether this is a breakup in a relationship, whatever has you in grief, because there's lots of things that can put us in grieving mode. You're truly healed when you can talk about the person or the situation and not be upset by it. Okay. And when you're really healed, especially with people that have passed, when you think about them or talk about them, and instead of feeling hurt and guilt and sadness, you feel joy because what you're remembering is all the wonderful things about the person and that what they brought into your life. Then oh, you've really healed from grief because you've gone from extreme sadness to the joy of thinking about them, their energy, their person, the way that they were when they were here with you. It's very, very different. So people always ask me, how do you know when you're over grieving? And that is the way you know.
So let's lean into that a little bit. Is there a way, because I know some people might just choose not to deal with grief and they push it down and then eventually they're going to have to. Is
Oh
there a
yeah.
way to, you know, figure out how to deal with grief? Like, is there a cord cutting process that would be a good strategy if you feel like it's, necessary? I don't know if viewers and listeners know about that, but
Yeah.
is there, going
I
slow to
tell
big
you what,
steps?
okay, I'll come clean so you know that I know about this stuff. Because about 10 years ago, I lost my partner suddenly. And it's one thing when you know somebody's going to be leaving. You have this kind of, you know, it doesn't make it any easier, but it allows you to actually start the grieving process before they pass. It allows you to start getting used to the fact that they're not going to be there forever. Okay. But when you lose somebody suddenly and it's totally unexpected, or if somebody dies in like a car crash or something like that, it's brutal because there is the surprise part of it. You have no preparation whatsoever. And it's literally like 1 minute the person is there and the next minute they're gone. So the thing that I would say that everybody grieves a little bit differently too. So there is no perfect way to grieve. Okay, let's get that out there because a lot of people get caught up in that too. I would say the best thing is honestly to keep yourself open, to let yourself feel what you're feeling, and to realize that the grieving process is like this. Okay. One day you could be feeling great and this could be minutes too in the beginning. Like you could be doing really, really well and all of a sudden you look and you'll see something or you'll get triggered or you'll have a memory and you just become this puddle. Okay. And you just need to accept that, especially in the beginning. And actually, there's this thing. Okay. In the first few months, especially in the first month or the first few couple months, after somebody has passed away. There are so many people around you. Everybody wants to help you, and people are giving their condolences, and they're bringing you food, and they're doing all kinds of wonderful special things. But I'm telling you, that doesn't last long. And this is something for everybody else to think about people who are grieving, because though that first month or two, the person who's grieving is generally in shock. And actually, they don't need as much help as till they come out of that shock. Okay. And really realize that this person is gone and that they're never coming back. And that usually, like I said, everybody's different, but usually that happens, 2, 3, 4 months after the person has passed. And some people it takes a little bit longer, but all of a sudden, and see, everybody's gone by then. Okay. Nobody's around supporting you like they were in the beginning. And all of a sudden you find yourself alone. This is very, very much, no, it applies to everybody. Yeah, I was going to say something else, but they just stopped me. See, I love having a team. Um, so this is what you have to remember, because honestly, sometimes it's more important 3, 4, 5 months down the road to check on that person and maybe allow them to talk and everything. Because I guarantee you that's when the real grief really hits, because they really realize that their person, whoever that may be, or the thing. Sometimes, some people can go into great grief about losing a career or a home. There's all different things that we can grieve. That's when the real reality of it sets in, and that's when people really need support. So, it's wonderful at the beginning to be very supportive, but remember that people need support, I would say, basically for the first year, because the problem is with grief is every anniversary, every birthday, every holiday, everything brings that back up, especially the first year. It just brings it up. And all of a sudden you can have been going along for a couple months and thinking, wow, I'm doing really well. And then it's the person's birthday. And then again, you're a puddle. Okay. And like this is, and the people around us, our friends and our relatives, they have to remember this, and they have to remember that at certain times, people are going to need more support, even if it's up to a year or more after the person, the thing that, or the person that the person is grieving has ended, has gone. And I don't even like the word when I'm talking about people ended, because we don't end. We just go on. Okay. So
Right.
that's the other part. And that's the part when people start getting aligned with that idea and realizing, not everybody, but most people, and I don't care what, your belief system is. I think everybody of every religion or non-religion or whatever starts thinking about and realizing that we are more than these bodies, and that the person, the thing that really makes the person, the energy, the soul, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's when I think that's a huge part of healing, by the way, when people, even regardless of what their beliefs were before, like I know people who were, died in the wool atheists. So they just thought, okay, when you die, you're gone, period, end of story. Or people who simply didn't believe, all different stripes of religions. And, they didn't believe in a afterlife at all. Okay. And then all of a sudden they lose someone, and they start going through this process, and it opens them up,
Mm-hmm.
and then they start having that belief system. So it's really interesting the way that it happens. But the biggest thing you can do is stay open to your emotions. Don't stuff them down, because I guarantee you, okay, you can stuff them down for as long as you want, but sooner or later they're going to come racing back at you. And it's just like anger. Like people stuff down anger a lot, and they don't realize that sooner or later it's just going to explode. And when you stuff down and it finally gets so much that it has to come out, it's 10 times worse.
Mm.
It's so much better to just let yourself feel the feelings when you feel them, and stop thinking that you have to be strong for other people, or you can't show your emotions. This is what happens a lot too. People think they have to be strong. Everybody wants to,
Mhm.
who cares what other people think? You need to do what you need to do in order to allow yourself to heal. So that was a
Yeah.
long-winded answer, but you know.
No, but I love it because I think your guides are definitely
Oh yeah,
feeling
they always
that
do.
there's a need for people out there right now dealing with grief in whatever form it's coming in.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of the year. Christmas is hard. The holidays are really hard for people when they've
It's
lost
very
somebody.
hard. There's all different reasons, like people who have passed away who are no longer here this season. For
Mhm.
some people, it's they find themselves for the first time alone due to separation or divorce or whatever that happens to be. Um, other reasons, like people may be in really serious financial straits and they're having a really hard time, and maybe they can't supply the holidays like they have in the past for their family, and that's huge. That's a huge grieving process too, and it's about feeling guilty and not good enough, and there's so much stuff that comes up around the holidays. This is why I'm saying it's so important to forget about all the commercialized stuff and really think about um, activities and things that you can do as a family or with friends, or and include people. This is the other thing that has really, I'd started before COVID, but I have noticed it really accelerated during COVID, that people are much, much less welcoming to other people. There's this kind of cloistering and, I only want to be with my immediate family kind of thing. And we sort of got trained into that over COVID, over those 2, 3 years with the whole COVID thing. And we have to start expanding again and start thinking about community and people around us. And, maybe we have a neighbor that's been left on their own, either for the first time or that they're on there. You can invite them over for a few hours. Like, things that we used to do um, without even thinking about it. And single people, there's a lot of people now that are really single, and include people, you know, or some people, with the way that we live and work now, some people, well, even myself, my entire family and blood family is all back east, and I live out here. And thank God I created a new family out here. But there's a lot of people that are either new or haven't, in your area, and all their family, and probably if they're new to the area, a lot of their friends and everything, they haven't had a chance to develop them. So, be mindful of those people. And it can be as simple as, I hope people do this all year, but I always say if people start doing it during Christmas, there's a better chance that they will continue to do it. And being nice to people, saying good morning, good afternoon, cracking a joke. I love doing this. I do this stuff all the time. I'm in the checkout line and I'm cracking jokes and people are laughing. Like, bring that kind of thing into other people's worlds, because you never know. God, the person behind you, standing behind you in the checkout line, could be going through the most horrendous experience of their life right now. And you have no idea that that's happening. But if you just bring general happiness and laughter and friendship into the world, oh my God, if we all did that just a little bit, like, we all can't do it all the time. Because let's face it, we all have our times when we're just like, we're spent, right? But do it when you got do it when you got the feeling, do it when you got the energy, and and it's contagious. It really is contagious, that energy.
Yeah, I always end this podcast with just share your light, be
Yes.
the light that you want to see in the world because that's, if we can all do that, it's going to be a better place.
Well, yeah, even a little bit. And you know what the wonderful upside of that is? If you go around doing those little things, even if you're having a horrendous time yourself, oh my God, it can actually so change the energy of your day that it will get you out of those feelings, whatever's going on, the hard time or whatever that you're going through, no matter what it is,
Mhm.
and just
Yeah.
doing those little things and cracking a stupid joke or, making fun of yourself sometimes, 'cause I've been in the store or something and I picked something up and, when you just drop something and it's, like, all over the floor or something, it's just like, "Oh my god." Instead of getting angry, just and it's not so much laughing at yourself, it's laughing at the irony or the, ridiculousness of the situation. And it's really about I think that's part of it too, is, like, not taking ourselves so seriously. 'Cause you know
Yes.
what? There's enough stuff that we have to take seriously in life. Let's not take ourselves so seriously.
Right. My husband would agree. I tend to be the serious one, and he's always cracking a joke. So, if you are that serious person, find somebody to surround yourself with who is going to bring the funny because,
Yeah, and
we all
you
need to laugh.
can. I think the more that you simply focus on the lighthearted side of life, you'd be amazed. Like, some
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, I'm not funny," or "I'm not this," or "I'm not that." You'd be amazed just by picking up on those crazy little things or just laughing to yourself. Like, I was out
Mhm.
picking up some groceries, and I have a tendency, I'll always have done this, I talk to myself because I kinda if I say things out loud, I tend to because if I've forgotten something, and one of the gals that was working in the grocery store because I said something, and she turned around because she thought I was talking to her. I said, "Oh, no, just me talking to myself." And again, she started laughing hilariously, right? So this is
Yeah.
how simple it is, like, to
Mhm.
make s and I'm sure that probably made her morning because she had a chuckle, right? Because let's face
Mhm.
it, we're all working hard, we're all doing our jobs, and it might not always be so much fun, okay? And if somebody
Yeah.
can give you a chuckle and I was in the ba oh, I know why all these things happen, because now I can give all these examples. I had to go to the I was on a tour this morning getting all these errands done, and I was in the bank, and you know how in the bank they have those machines that spit out money? And I
Mhm.
just said, "Hey, I wish I'm gonna ask for one of those machines that spit out money for Christmas." And I'm not kidding you. Every teller, the gal that was sitting behind the desk, they're all smiling and laughing, and they're going, "Yeah, we want one of those too, right?" And so then I said,
Right.
"Okay," I said, "Please, Santa, could I have a machine that spits out money?" And then they were dying, right? Now they're almost falling out of their chairs laughing, right? So this is what I'm
Right.
saying. It's not that tough. It's just
Mhm.
about getting yourself in the mood, and it just kind of flows out of you naturally. And even
Right.
people who are, maybe people who are more shy than I am, because I'm certainly not shy. Uh, but you know what I mean? You start doing it, it's just like anything. I honestly, I really believe in the fake it till you make it thing. Because I think when you just do things, it starts creating, we talk about neuroplasticity, it starts creating new pathways in your brain. And the more you do this kind of, off the cuff, instantaneous kind of thing, the better you get at it. And you get this really positive instant feedback. Because if you kind of crack a little joke like that and everybody starts laughing and they're all happy, I go like this because I'm wagging my tail. This is the thing I always think about. I love dogs. And I just think, oh, people are wagging their tails. Let's make their tails wag some more. It's just fun. It's just fun.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you just have to if you're having a bad day, you just have to think a different thought, and I think your vibration just raises automatically when you can laugh at yourself or
Oh,
somebody else.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing. This is the okay, we could go that way. Um, this is one of the reasons that I just absolutely love meditation, and I tell all my clients and anybody that will listen, if you're going to meditate, the probably the best time to meditate is first thing in the morning. And the reason for that is sometimes we wake up, and this happens to me as well. And for you don't even know why. You just wake up in this bad mood. I don't know. Maybe you had a weird dream that you don't remember. Maybe you didn't sleep as well as you should have. Whatever the reason, you just wake up in a kind of what I call a foul mood, right? If you don't do something about that immediately, first thing in the morning, I tell you that even if it's just a kind of a dull unhappiness, that will escalate and that all day. And by the end of the day, you will have a crap day. Okay. But if you just do even like a little 5-10 minute meditation to get yourself out of that energy, and that's what happens. If you even a short meditation, it will just change your energy. And then all of a sudden your day goes great. Or it certainly doesn't go as bad as it would have gone. Okay. If you'd started in that horrible mood that you were in. So there's two
For
things that,
sure.
that I think work, and you're going to laugh at the second one, but there's two things. You want to change your energy. One of the most powerful ones is meditation. The other one is have a shower. And people always look at me when I say that. And there's a real energetic reason for that. Because when you have a shower, it not only cleanses your physical body, it's also, you have to remember, it's like it's running through all your energy bodies. So water is a powerful, powerful medicine. Okay. And it really detoxes our system, whether you're talking about the physical system or the energetic system. And like, if you, well, this is a perfect example. If you come home and you've had a crap day and you are just exhausted and you've had enough and you're just ready to, flip the finger at the next person who even says hello, the best thing for you to is dive into a shower, have a shower. And I tell you, you will come out of that shower feeling 10 times better than you went in. It's a miraculous. See, there are so many simple things that we can do, and then people don't do them. And instead they stew in this energy that they're in. And there's like really quick, easy, like, for example, if you're feeling like really ungrounded and you're just feeling kind of lost and you're like, you're like a kite in the wind and you feel like you've got no control over your life and you're so on, just do a simple grounding, a 5-minute grounding exercise. And that can make all the difference in the world. Even people who suffer from there must be quite a few watching or that will be watching that suffer from anxiety. Okay. You can stand there and just, I don't care if you're in an elevator, I don't care if you're at your desk, where you are, you can just sort of step to the side and close your eyes, and you can take 3 deep breaths in through your nose, yogic breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just taking those 3 breaths again will put you into your parasympathetic nervous system and change the energy entirely. Even people who have panic attacks and stuff like that, I've trained people to do this just by reminding them constantly that this is something that they should be doing. And it really, really works. And it's simple. And I can tell you a big part of these things is you need to believe that they're gonna work, okay? And all you do is replicate that belief and feel better once, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, I did that last time or a couple times ago, and it actually worked. Maybe I should do that again." You know what I mean? And the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the quicker it tends to work.
Yeah, and I like that you said that you really should believe that it's going to
Yes.
work, because you can
Yeah.
try a bunch of strategies, but you've got to be thinking about how you're feeling once you do one.
Well, if you want proof of that, just look at the placebo effect. Okay. That is a real scientific thing. Okay. It's really about people being given sugar pills and being told that it's this revolutionary new drug and it's fantastic and it's going to work better than anything they've ever taken. Okay. And these people actually get well or have very positive effects from it. And it's nothing but a sugar pill, but it was because they believed that it was this miraculous new drug and it was going to help them. And it helped them.
I mean, it goes back to the power of the mind. It is so true. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is the majority of what we
Well,
think.
I always say control your thoughts, control your world. But it's really not about controlling your thoughts because this is the same thing as meditation. A lot of people think meditation is all about controlling your thoughts. That's not what meditation is because your thinking process never stops. It's about learning how to take your attention away from that process. And, it's that simple meditation of thinking of every thought that comes in, you imagine it on a cloud and you see it floating away. It's a very simple meditation. Here's another thing. If you got all this monkey mind and you got all these thoughts going on in your head, you can just sit there. And this is a great one to use when you're stuck in traffic and you're like in bumper to bumper and nothing's moving. You just sit there and all these thoughts come and all this anger, like, oh fuck, I should have took a different way, and all these things. And you just imagine them all on a row on little clouds, and you see them, they come in, they go out. They come in, they go out. And it's amazing. Like within 2 or 3 minutes, you had steam coming out your ears. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this isn't so bad.
Yeah. I
Music's
mean, if
another
we
thing.
can,
Music is
yes.
another thing that people, because you see, everything doesn't work for everybody. And this is the other big side that my guides are just fanatical about, getting on people about is if one thing doesn't work, try something else. There's so many little things that you can do that take very little time and very little effort. And if one thing doesn't work for you, try something else. Actually, and even, on different days, depending on what's going on with you, maybe something that usually works for you isn't working. Well, guess what? Try something else. Because not only are we all different, we can be different at different times, within the same day, let alone, in the same month. And just try something different, because you just never know. And who knows, you might find something that actually works better than something you used to use all the time. And then it's like, wow, I found something new. I'm going to use this instead because this seems to work better for me.
Yeah. And I think that brings us back full circle because you were sharing that 2025 is about, letting go of what no
Yeah.
longer serves us. 2026 is new beginnings. Do
Yes.
you have any final thoughts for our listeners and viewers before I let you go about
The change.
anything?
Well, I'm going to tell you, 2025 has been quite difficult for a lot of people, for most people, in varying ways, some ways the same. Um, 2026 in some ways is going to get better. In some ways, I think it's going to be even more challenging. Okay. Because of world events, because of things going on around us. I don't like to get into the fear porn. Just know that this next few years is not going to be an easy ride. There's just no two ways about it. But we are going to come out of it so much better. Like my guides showed me a vision. They showed me this around 2020 that the next 10 years, at that point it was from 2020 to 2030. They told me that when we're standing in 2030, we're going to look back and go, "Oh my god, I can't believe how the world has changed." Like they told me in 2020 that there was going to be over the next 10 years as much change as there has been in the last 300 years. Okay, which is mind bending. Okay, most people can't even I had a hard time wrapping my head around that. And then they reminded me, they said, look, most of the change that's happened with humans in I don't want to go too far back, in our sphere has happened in the last 100 years. Okay. And everybody can kind of get a grip on the last 100 years. Okay. So even if you look at it from that point, okay, that when we get to 2030, we're going to look back and go, oh my God, we've changed more in the last 10 years than we have in the last 100. Okay. Even that's tenfold. Okay. So that's something that most people can wrap their mind around. And what my guides are absolutely adamant about is to get through, and we're in the last half of that now. Okay. We're definitely in the last half of that, which means the intensity is going up and up and up in case you haven't noticed. In order to get through the next till 2030, self-care is absolutely, ultimately the most important thing. Controlling our own energy, feeding ourselves, making ourselves more and more resilient. That's another word they talk about endlessly, is resilience. Because there's going to be a lot of people, I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of people that are very ill prepared and are going to lose their shit. Okay? So when all kinds of people around you are losing their shit, I'm sorry, but that says it for me. Um, you need to be very well balanced in order to keep yourself in a state that you can handle it when everything else is falling apart around you. And that's why self-care now is like, self-care used to be kind of optional. Okay. Yeah, it's no longer optional. And it needs to be intense. And it needs to be our focus. And that's not selfish. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of those people that you love and care about around you. And you can't even take care of yourself. Okay. So this is why that need for self-care and resiliency is so important. And I think that is going to be really brought home. A lot of people know that, but there's a much wider swath of people that have no clue. And I think that's really going to be brought home in 2026. Because I think 2026, 2027, 2028 are going to be really somewhat daunting if you're not well grounded and you haven't prepared your own resiliency and you're not using your ongoing self-care. Okay. This is not about, it's not like a diet. Okay. It's not like a quickie diet. This is not something you do for 6 or 8 months and then you're done. Okay. This is ongoing, basically forever, as far as I can see into the future. Certainly into the time up until 2030. Because 2030, I'll tell you how important 2030, it's a watershed moment. And it's so important that that's going to be the branching of, we are going to be just not universe. We are going to be deciding where we go from there. And it's not like the world is going to end. It's all good things. I talk about it as an arm. Okay. This is like basically where we are now. And this is 2030. And what happens in 2030, there's multiple paths. And we as a race, as humanity, are going to have to decide which path we want to go down. And it's not that there's really, at that point, there's really any bad path. They're just very different. Okay. But in order to get there, we have to take care of ourselves and we have to make sure that we are grounded and we are, because there's like, when I say losing their shit, I'm talking about people who are going to become totally unbalanced, mentally or emotionally, or both at the same time. Okay. And there's already people. Okay. This is another thing that happened during, COVID and everything. There already is a lot of, why do you think all of a sudden we started seeing all this mental illness to a level that we've never seen it before? And a lot of that was brought on by all the things that happened during COVID. And that is going to keep escalating over the next few years. Um, a lot of good things are going to happen too, but there's going to be a lot of challenges, a lot of challenges. But the end goal is going to be fantastic, but you have to get there. And not only do you have to get there, hopefully you get there in one piece. Okay. That's why there's going to be so many people awakening over the next few years, because there's always a choice. It's always a choice. But I kind of look at it as, I don't want to say awaken or die, because that's not true. Trying to look for the right word. It's basically, people are going to awaken because for a lot of people, there's going to be no other choice. Okay.
Right.
That's why so many people are suddenly awakening, because it's getting to that choice point. That you
Yeah.
either awaken and you get your shit together, or you're going to be in, you're in a really heavy downhill slide. So we'll see what happens. We'll
Mm.
see what's up. But I've seen people who I never thought would embrace any of this stuff actually embracing it. So that to me is a very, very positive sign. But of course, that's also what's bringing on this polarity, this incredible polarity. Okay. And there's still going to be people who are just like not going to believe in any of this stuff, and they're just going to be, so totally tied up in the old paradigm, and you're just not going to be able to shift them. But that's their choice.
Yeah. And it
And what's going
is.
to
I think.
happen after that is a whole nother podcast. It's
Mm.
a whole nother podcast. But that we got the important stuff out. It's basically
Mhm.
learn how to take care of yourself, learn how to build up your own resilience, and also build up the resilience of the people around you. So
Mm.
family, friends, community. That's really what it's coming down to. And that community is going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger part of our lives. And in the modern world, that's really been junked. Okay. In the last, I would say probably 40, 50 years, that whole sense of community has kind of gone down the drain. And there's going to be a huge revival in that. We're going to go back to the old ways of supporting each other through community. And I think it's going to be all different kinds of community, not just the community that we knew in the past, which was literally your community, your local
Mhm.
community. I think it's going to
Mhm.
be all different types of community.
Right.
Now,
And we see that now
yeah,
online. There are lots of people out there connecting. So,
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. It's
Mhm.
so glad you brought that up because this is a good place to end.
Yes, I think so.
We
I
have
mean,
to stop. Okay, I'm not saying that connecting online is a bad thing, but it's
mhm.
not enough. Okay.
Sure.
This is part of the damage that COVID did. We got so used to everybody connecting online. Okay. That can be
Mhm.
powerful in certain ways, but that's not
Mhm.
when I speak of community, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm
Mm.
talking about get out there and build person to person relationships,
Mhm.
whether it be
Yes.
in your family, your friends, um, or your physical community. Okay. Because
Mhm.
these online, a lot of people think, oh, I've got all these friends online. Those are not friends. Okay.
Mhm.
They,
Mhm.
that's just not enough. We need to build interpersonal relationships face to face.
Yeah. You can connect with like-minded people initially online, but then you need to take it
Well,
to face to
exactly. Then
face.
you need to take it off. You need to
Yeah.
take it offline. Okay.
Mhm.
That's a good way to look at it. Actually,
Mhm.
they gave you a gold star.
Oh, thanks.
Online is an introduction service.
Mhm.
Okay. It's not a relationship. You see the difference between those things?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's a good
Mhm.
way to meet and connect with people, but you gotta take it into real life. You gotta take it
Right.
face to face because that's
That
what's going to
mhm.
build. I'm just gonna say it. I see, this is me trying to stop them from saying something. There could
Mhm.
be a prolonged period where online stuff is not available.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah, I could see
This is
that.
another reason why this face-to-face relationship building is so important and community building, because we're way too dependent on what we're doing right now. That's not to lessen its importance because the internet and communicating with people like this is the way that we've spread a lot of knowledge and
Mhm.
connection and given people information that they would have never had before. Okay.
True.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to minimize that because that's a very important thing. And that
Mhm.
is something that's going to be important to us in the future. But we cannot, their big thing is we cannot rely on that only.
Mhm. That makes
And
sense.
that's
And,
what's
what
causing
if it all, like you said, what if it all goes away one day? So we
yeah,
just have to be prepared to be connected with our community face to face.
face to face, yeah. And we have to
Mhm.
develop those friendships and things too, because that is
Mhm.
what's really supporting people. And like I said, You can have some really close relationships online, but if there isn't that physical component, it is not the same thing. And this is
Yeah.
where people have gotten into these traps where they're everything for them is online and they don't have a life outside of their phone or outside of their computer. And this is not, it's not healthy either, by the way, either
Right. Right.
psychologically or emotionally. It's just not healthy if that's all you've got.
Mhm.
It can be part of
Agree.
your world. It can be part of your world, but it can't be your whole world.
Agreed. So, Laura, thank you so much for just entertaining us with all the messages from your spirit team, reminding us of the things that we need to be focusing on, and just getting ready for 2026 and what the next decade has to hold for us. I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. It's been a joy.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if people listening and watching want to work with you offline, online but offline in another space, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way, of course, is through my website, which is www.spiritspeaks2, the number two, .me. Or you can email me directly at Laura Hoorweg at gmail.com. It's so easy. And I know that Kendra is going to have all the wonderful, all my links in the show notes. Um, so I really didn't talk about what I do, so I'm just gonna give you a quickie thing about what I do. I'm a
Mhm.
spiritual
Yeah.
counselor and an intuitive coach. So basically what I do is I help people make their lives work. And that goes down to personal relationships, family relationships, your relationship with yourself. I help people out with their businesses. And I also do grief work through my mediumship work, which I only do locally because I do my mediumship work in person. My coaching and my counseling are all done through Zoom. So I have clients all over the world.
Okay. Wonderful.
So if
Yeah,
you're
we'll
looking
make
for
sure.
clarity, connection, uh, what is it? Clarity, confirmation, direction. There's the word direction. Come and see me.
Okay. Thank you again. And we will make sure everything's in the show notes for anybody
Thank
who
you.
wants to know more. Absolutely. All right. Have a great
Okay.
rest of your 2025, Laura, until I see you
Yes.
again.
And happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody because I know this is just going to come out before Christmas. So that's great.
Yes. Yes. Happy New Year, everybody. If you stayed till the end, I'm so glad that this video resonated with you. I'm so glad you're here. And I just want you to pause again, not to analyze, but to notice what surfaced for you. What felt tender? Did anything strike you? What truth might be asking for your attention as this year comes to a close? Research consistently shows that reflection, not relentless action, is what leads to sustainable clarity and change. Laura's work reminds us of this truth. Clarity doesn't come from pushing harder, it comes from creating space, listening deeply, and allowing what's already within us to rise. If you're moving through grief, or if this season is especially hard, because you're missing somebody you love, please hear this. You don't have to rush your healing. There is nothing you need to fix before the calendar turns. Slowing down is not falling behind, it's preparation. You can learn more about Laura and her work at Spirit Speaks to Me, and you'll find links and resources in the description below. So check all that out. And before you go, I want to share that this is the final episode of season 1. This is number 49 of the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back to the YouTube channel. It's something that I'm playing around with to take a podcast and make it YouTube worthy. So thank you for being here. I'd love to know your feedback. Let me know, leave a comment. Let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear more about. And I'll be back January 1st with season 2, episode 1. And I'll be kicking off the new year with one of my good friends, Joanna Moss, longtime friend. And it's going to be grounded in the research of Arthur Brooks. He's a Harvard professor and American author. And he talks about happiness. And that's what we're going to talk about. And it's a hopeful and powerful conversation as we head into the year of the horse with intention instead of urgency. So as you move through this season, I wish you a peaceful and gentle holiday, whatever you celebrate. So happy winter solstice, blessed Yule, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and warm wishes for a happy new year. And to all who celebrate, may this time offer you rest, reflection, and light. And if this conversation supported you, please like, subscribe, or share it with somebody who might need it. And I'll see you back here on January 1st. Ready to go slow so we can go fast together in 2026. Take care.